crazy!
Welcome back, everyone. This is Overwatchers, the podcast all about Overwatch. I'm Garrett Weinzierl. I'm sitting here with Patrick Beja, and if you're watching live and wondering why this is happening so damn late on a Tuesday, it's because Patrick is coming to us live from Japan. Welcome back, Patrick.
That I am. I'm in Japan for the next couple of months. It's absolutely awesome. I'm sitting on a tatami floor right now, and I'm feeling awesome. It's fantastic to be here again. I lived in the country for a while, and you know, I haven't been here for a long time, and it feels great to be able to do that and keep doing my job, which is, among other things, being on Overwatchers.
Well, I'm glad to hear, man. I'm feeling good as well. Not because I'm in a totally awesome country, though. It is because we are joined this evening by a fellow podcaster and also a fellow Floridian.
Yes, that's true.
Mr. Chris, a.k.a. ChanmanV. Chris, dude, welcome to Overwatchers.
Hey, thanks, man. I'm really excited to be joining you guys on this show, and been wanting to do some things with you, Garrett, for a long time. And it's been a while since I was on Angry Chickens. When was that, by the way?
Actually, fun fact for everyone who wants some emove.tv trivia, because it comes up so often in regular conversation. Chris was our very first guest on... That's right. Well, actually, I think Ben Bro technically was, but you were our first non-Team 5 guest.
Okay.
On the Angry Chicken, because you won one of the first big tournaments with your Hunter deck, and we brought you on to talk about your Hunter deck. And this was so early on in Hearthstone, ladies and gentlemen, that this was before Face Hunter was even a term.
That was the beginning, dude.
Let's put it in perspective. This is so early that I won a tournament. Okay, that's how early it was. Okay. And that's pretty amazing, but nobody can take that away from me. I will always have that first Liquid Hearth open.
Yeah, man. You and Artosis can sit in your tower of tournaments that happen so early.
BlizzCon. That's different.
I don't know.
Like a much different.
I would say it's about on the same level of pedigree.
Well, you know what? His was an invitational. Mine was actually an open bracket.
Actually, that's a good point. Actually, I would argue that
you had to fight through the whole thing.
Right.
I was about to argue. Right. That's a good point. Right. I would now argue that your room in the tower is slightly higher than Artosis's.
Okay. So. All right. I feel happy about that. No, I'm really excited to be on the Overwatchers, and not only do I get to do something with Garrett, but I actually get to do something with Patrick now, which is amazing. So 2-for-1 special here. This is awesome.
So in case we haven't spelt it out for our listeners, Chris will be joining us regularly now.
Yes. So that's kind of why I was saying that I wanted to do something with Garrett for a while, and this is going to be it, or at least our first rendezvous together.
Yeah, as you said on Twitter, man, it's that first date feeling.
That's right. That's right.
So you've been you're a known face, I think, on Hearthstone. People who follow that game might know you, but you've also been getting into Overwatchers. Well, Overwatch pretty hardcore. You have a competitive show about it and everything. I mean, you're believing in this game.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I have another talk show podcast, The Overview, that's very competitive Overwatch centric. So we talk a lot about the pro scene and just what's going on with the meta there. And yeah, I'm very, very bullish on Overwatch, as people know. I mean, I wouldn't start a show, right, if I didn't think it was going to do really well. And the instant I played the game, I was one of the late folks to actually get a chance to play for the first time. A lot of people played it at BlizzCon like 2 years ago, but I didn't get a chance to play it until this past BlizzCon. And I'd already been thinking about doing an Overwatch just because I had this feeling, everything I saw about it and heard about it was that it was a phenomenal game. But the instant I played it, I just knew, that everybody would love it. The moment they got their hands on it. So it just made me really get passionate about it. And it's not even just the game, right? It's like all the media around the game too, the shorts, the backstories, just the potential of this title, I think is amazing. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things that's just perfect for just my interests and things I can just dive headfirst into and dive real deep into. So Overwatch is perfect for that.
Yeah, Blizzard's definitely accomplished something here, and it's funny. You can see it come across on like Chris Metzen's face when he's trying to explain what their goal was with the game, and I feel like they definitely hit that goal because it's like they were just sitting around watching the Avengers and like, man, we want this like kind of feeling, this vibe in a game. Well, why don't we just make our own Avengers literally from scratch? We'll just fresh slate. We want that camaraderie to come across in this game. And I feel like they nailed it. They hit it out of the park, especially with these shorts that have been coming out. And we're going to talk about Alive a little bit later today. And we already talked about the Winston short on the last episode, but they're doing it. I want to know more about this world, and it's something. And
it's about the game, and promise we're going to stop gushing in a second and talk about the actual important news, which is the arrival of competitive play of rank mode in the game. But there's so much around, that is not directly gameplay that is incredibly well done, and there's a couple of things we're going to be talking about later in the show that sort of exemplify all of this. So that everything around it is so well crafted, and look forward to me talking about that later in the show towards the end.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we should kick off the main discussion this week with the patch that happened since we last recorded, because what a beta patch it was. We have competitive play. It's in the game. We get to try it out. The thing that I've spent, I think, at least 3 episodes complaining about the fact that they said, it's not really needed for launch. And I'm like, I kind of feel like it is a little bit.
That is not what they said, but okay.
They said it is not a requirement for launch. That's exactly what they said, Patrick. Please, paint it.
They said they really wanted to have it in, but you're right. They
Mr.
They
Blizzard
said
employee.
they could launch without.
They just want expectations to be low, so when they actually reach it, it's like, oh wow, we got it in. We overshot what we told everybody. That's like typical, right? That's what I do in my job. I mean, what other people do in their jobs and stuff.
I still think they're just trying not to one up Team One too much. They're like, oh, your game has been out for over a year and you still don't have Season 1? Okay. All right.
They should take it as an opportunity to do that.
I would like that as well, because I would also really like Season 1 and Heroes.
Got to motivate Team 1. Motivate them. Right?
But yeah, there was a lot in this patch. But let's talk about competitive play first, because it's interesting the effect it's had on the game. Because we've only had quick play up until this point, and the mindset you have going into a game is kind of like, even though there is this attack and defense on certain maps, you never really thought of it as one complete game. At least I didn't. It was like, well, I got time for one game. I'll get in and do it. And I didn't necessarily always stick around for both rounds. But now all of a sudden, with the competitive play, that's something you need to be concerned about, because you need to complete both the attack and the defense side of things, and sometimes a sudden death if needed, or you're going to have to deal with lever penalties and stuff of that nature.
So maybe we can explain exactly how it works for people who aren't in the game. Do you want me to take that?
Yeah, go for it.
So basically, there are a lot people who are familiar with competitive FPSs will know that there are different ways to go about it. The main, apparently the most popular one is the stopwatch mode, which means you play 2 rounds, attack and defense, and on the second one, the team has to do better time-wise than the first one. So you don't necessarily play both games to completion, and you just stop once you've managed to hold out for a little bit longer than the other team has in the first match. Blizzard has decided not to go with that format, which maybe has caused a little bit of discussion in the competitive scene. The format they're going with in-game is, as Garrett was saying, you play 2 games fully, once on attack, once on defense, and if you win both, then you've won that competitive match. If you haven't, you go to a sudden death, which is just 1 round of a control map. So, any control map, you have 1 point, and the one who takes it takes the entire game. And if you play a control map, then you have best of 5. And that's the only thing you're going to play if it's a control map. The way the ranking goes is that you have 5 categories. You have Challenger, Advanced, etc., etc. The last one is Heroic. all of the categories have 5 divisions, so you can be challenger 1, challenger 2, etc. And you rank up, you win 20 points per game won, 40 if you're in a winning streak, and you lose 20 if you lose, unless you go to a sudden death, in which case you only lose 10.
And you can't lose points in the lowest league, which is challenger.
Right. You can't lose points in challenger mode, and you can lose points in the other ones. And heroic is a little bit special. It's kind of like legendary in Hearthstone. You are ranked. There are no divisions. You just have a number of your placement in that category. I think that roughly wraps it up. One other thing we're probably going to be talking about a lot, at least I will, is the fact that it resets monthly. And I'm not sure that's a good thing. But first of all, your impressions on the system.
Yeah, so that's a lot, right? So I guess let's tackle the format first, right? Which is having defending and attacking, and then the sudden death being being what consists of a match, instead of the payload thing, or instead of more the stopwatch type of thing. Do you like what they've done so far with this? Do you like that you get a chance to play defense first, then you get a chance to play it on the offense, and then decide who wins?
I do. I think I'm trying to think about this from a spectator perspective. And obviously my impression of this is going to be very colored by having had the chance to play Overwatch up until this point. So I already kind of have a feeling in my, like I have a sense of what Overwatch is to me. And to me, it's playing a game till the end, till the bitter end. You hear the music swell, and there's this awesome team fight until you either push back to the fence or you push to payload to victory and you win. If it was literally just, all right, guys, 5, 4, 3, 2, yay, it's over, we're just done, everyone walk away, that to me kind of kills that epic, that swell, that crescendo that is the end of every single game of Overwatch I have ever played.
Which is exactly the reasoning that Jeff was putting forth for choosing that format over stopwatch. Because it's true, when you watch a game in stopwatch, it is like, oh, all right, well, it's over now. We stop playing. And it's very underwhelming. Yeah.
And I do want to... I want to kind of color all of this with the admission that I am typically not a shooter fan. And I like Overwatch because it is not like every other shooter I have played.
Yeah. All right, so comparing to stopwatch, do you guys like this better than? I mean, you just talked about the difference. So obviously, Garrett, you like it better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% on board.
What about you, Patrick?
Yeah, I do like it better. I mean, I think I've never played stopwatch. Maybe there's the same amount of incredible excitement when you know you're going to reach the end of the time that the team spent in the first game. But usually what I've seen in games is, even the casters aren't absolutely sure how long it was because, you have production that knows, but you don't have that. It can be done, I'm sure if Blizzard decided to go that way, and they said they still might, they would add that level of polish, and you might have that same countdown when you reach the number that the first team did, and you would have that same music swell. I'm sure they could do it. I'm just happy as an FPS noob that you get to play the exact same match that your opponents did. Right. There are a lot of elements to this. There's a lot of people saying, when you play stopwatch, you have to play full delay tactics, and that's where some of the comps that we've been seeing come from. It's that you absolutely have to slow down everyone as much as possible. Arguably, that's what would happen in any game type, but I really like that you have this. You're on the equal footing, and you have to play the exact same thing. I guess the challenge in that it's definitely better than having just one game, right? Just playing one attack or one defense. But then obviously the balance is super important because if, let's say, attack is favored in a map, then both teams on attack are going to win, and then you always go to the sudden death. But I don't know, without thinking too much about it, which I usually do, it feels right. So I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the same. Like I feel a little bit of kind of in between, I guess, both of you guys. Probably leaning more towards what they're doing right now. The payload stopwatch thing definitely has a very ungratifying feeling at the end of it, kind of like what you were saying, Garrett. And they can fix that. They could do that, but still, from a standpoint of, I don't know, I'm a very logical, technical person. It just doesn't feel symmetrical. You know what I mean? There's
Right.
something
Yeah,
weird
no,
about
exactly.
it. Okay, and so it bothers me a little bit, just that aspect of it. Um, what they're doing now, the issue I have with it is that there is levels of success with each run, like playing defense or playing or attacking. Attacking is kind of what it's measured by, right? So there's different levels. Like a person that can't even get, like a team that can't even get past spawn should not get as much credit as somebody that was literally 5 meters from the finish, right? And that's what's happening right now. And so, obviously this is like their first pass at it, but I think changes need to be made. Like definitely a lot of changes that need to reward at least progress within a round. You don't need to cut it off by time, but there needs to be some type of, and I made a suggestion today on the overview, which like a point system. This isn't perfect either, because this isn't, again, like absolute, like exactly, every single meter or every single second that you've done that's better than your opponent. But at least, you get 200 points for every checkpoint you reach. And then so like at the end of the round, you have 400 points or something like that. And now your opponent has a mark they need to beat. And then they have at least a structured way of beating it, right? And it's clear to the viewers too. Like, okay, if that happens, then it is somewhat of an abbreviated round two. It can't lead to abbreviated round two, but at least from the spectator, it's much better of an experience.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely feels wrong when you've been stuck by the first point and the defense team has dominated you completely, and you get the same, and then the other team pushes so far that, they're 2 meters away from the final point. And then, so you're obviously a lot better, but then it gets decided in a silly, 3 minutes sudden death, and the winner takes it all. It feels a little bit weird. I hope they're going to address this. Maybe it could be as simple as, depending on what point you reach on a payload or how many ticks you get of a capture point, then you're going to get some points to progress anyway. Because definitely when you get stomped, but you achieved a little bit, it feels like you should get something for it. And I understand, you get the feeling of, well, not everyone can get a gold star, right? It's like people go that route. I don't, and maybe it's a good point to I don't know if it's too early to talk about the frustrations of this mode, but I could take a gold star in this, in the past week. I want my gold stars, damn it. I've been stomped so hard.
Wow.
It was brutal.
Are you solo queuing, or are you playing with friends, or because I think most people aren't solo queuing. I think that's one of the issues too.
It's possible, but let me tell you, I've been playing. Listeners know I play a lot, and it's been a week since competitive play came out, and I've played so much. Several hours a day, and I only this morning today came out of Challenger mode, Challenger category. And I think I've won a third of the matches, and it feels bad, man. It feels terrible to be losing that much. And I am solo queuing, but honestly, I'm not sure it would change that much if I wasn't, because the when you're not, then you're getting, maybe I'm solo queuing and getting against pre-made teams. That's possible, and that's why I'm losing so much. But I don't know. I feel like I'm not horrible at the game. At least I've put in a lot of hours, and it feels like, the way it feels like now is, if by putting so many hours into this game, I'm still not managing to rise to the level where I can sort of get out of Challenger with a 50-50 win-loss ratio, then why even try, right? So I don't know if you guys have the same experience, but...
Yeah, if we want to segue into the whole the way that the rank system works, I feel like I'm having deja vu. This is a conversation we have had on the Angry Chicken. This is a conversation we have had on Into the Nexus.
Okay.
And now this is a conversation we're going to be having on Overwatchers about what is the right answer. that's the question we're putting out there, right? Because my first look at the way that the rank system works looks horrible to me.
Yeah,
it seems exceptionally grindy. It's like they took the worst parts of all of the other existing league systems in every other Blizzard game and just made this hellish montage of everything I hate about ranking up in Blizzard games. I like the format. I like the attack, defense, sudden death, and I like the best of 5 for control maps. But the reward system, the progression system, holy crap, guys! You need to rein this in. This is a grind fest of epic proportions.
Yes, it definitely is, and it's not short either. You know, it's like with Hearthstone, at least you can kind of grind through games. You can play a really fast deck and just kind of, knock out like 10 games or 12 games in an hour or something. No. This is like you get to play 3 games in an hour, especially in some of them we'll get to it like 3v6 or something like that, right? And it's just like soul crushing whenever you're having to, kind of go through that.
Yeah, I'm not I'm happy you're here, Chris, because maybe you can sympathize with me a little bit here. At what point did Blizzard decide that StarCraft 2's ladder system was the worst thing they've ever created?
I know.
Because they haven't taken a single damn lesson from that ladder system in any of their other games. And I understand I understand the downsides of it, especially the individual ladders where you just get thrown in with 100 other guys, and for all you know, 99 of them aren't even playing anymore. Like that's a big flaw. But the fact that it's a system that takes your performance into account and always keeps you within a league that your performance has landed you in just makes so much more sense to me than these just grindy, like every month, okay, knock you back to the beginning, work your way up. It just seems so funky to me.
Well, starting over, I think that's a separate issue, right? But in terms of just how the ladder is with Hearthstone and what we're seeing with Overwatch now, it has a lot to do with like what Patrick was talking about, like everybody feeling good. Like they just want everybody just like to feel like they're progressing and just have that type of feeling instead of having a very accurate representation of where you are with like something like an MMR. And I think they're going the wrong direction with it. Like they keep leaning towards the just this type of arbitrary ranks, and like kind of putting people in there, like kind of grouping people, or at least making people feel like they're being grouped with other people that are this similar skill. But it's not that way at all. You know what I mean? Like there's another MMR where the matchmaking actually uses. And so what we're seeing and how we feel about who's beating us or who we're beating is actually not an accurate representation of what's true. And I don't know. I feel like that's a bad thing. I do understand why you want to keep people motivated on the ladder. Yeah. I do understand that totally. But I don't know. The 1 month thing is something I just totally hate too. I really hate it in Hearthstone too.
Yeah.
So they're doing it again in Overwatch.
Yeah, I understand the way it works. You play your games, and hopefully by within a week or two, people have progressed more or less to where they are supposed to be, because obviously when you lose, you remain at the same rank, and it's sort of an integrated MMR, right? It places you automatically where you should be. But first of all, as you were saying, Garrett, it's incredibly grindy in this form. I'm sure they're going to change that, because you need to play, I think, 7 or 8 hours on average if you win half your matches to get out of that initial challenger mode where you can't lose points. And that's, it's incredibly long. What normal player is going to be playing 8 hours to place themselves kind of minimum, and then have another, start playing at their normal level to try and progress beyond it. I don't think it's going to stay like that. If anything, there needs to be less, divisions in the challenger rank, and maybe even a different structure, because in Hearthstone at least you're progressing kind of quickly in the beginning. In the first 5 ranks, you're getting out of it relatively quickly, or at least you're getting up a rank. Here, getting up a division doesn't feel as satisfying at all. Like at all. The division, it's the same. You're Challenger 4, Challenger 3. Basically, you're the same crap at Challenger is what it feels like.
Yeah.
And then the monthly reset, it's insane. In Hearthstone, it's already kind of painful. But in this, if it stays like that, it's like you take a week or two if you're playing normally, not like an insane streamer, to place yourself. And then you only have 2 weeks to sort of really, quote unquote, play the game. Yeah, I think this is definitely a big problem. And I think they're going to address it. I'm hopeful they're going to address it. But if it stays like this, it's going to be a problem for a lot of casual players.
Yeah, it just makes people not want to care about, like, a casual players just won't care about the ranked. Like, they'll just play quick play.
That's
and be
exactly
satisfied.
my reaction, because I don't have this kind of time. I just do not. So I've barely touched competitive. I went in, I think I played like 4 games total, and I'm like, cool, I'm done. This is a grindy mess. I'm going back to quick play.
Well, I
played it 12 times, and
Okay.
I've just given up on it too, because it's just never a good experience. Every time I play it, it's literally never a fun experience for me. So that's hurting my Overwatch experience.
I think
this
was a concerted effort by the Overwatch team to make me believe that we don't need this for launch. To be like, no, guys, it's cool. You know what? Don't include this.
Garrett said he had
well,
to. That's
so the thing is,
prove him
it
wrong.
really it just needs a little bit of tweaking to work well, right? It's not like the system. It's just this progression scheme that is not working. And it seems you're sort of reassuring me a little bit, because it seems people like you and me, who are relatively, who are not awesome at playing the game and who can't aim like pros, apparently a lot of them are not playing the competitive system. So it means I'm getting matched against teams of pros, and that's why I can't progress.
I mean, this is pretty anecdotal evidence, Patrick. I mean,
I think that's
careful,
the reason.
Careful with your logic.
Well, we have to remember, guys, also that it's still beta, right? I mean, whenever 100x number of players come into the game, then there will be plenty of people at our skill level that we can be matched up against, and we can get out of a challenger. But until then, yes, right now we're talking, I wonder what percentage of the people playing competitive are even solo queuing. I mean, I think they're 2 queuing, 3 queuing, 4 queuing. So you're playing against teams of people, not even just necessarily good people, but people who are talking on Discord or whatnot.
That opens up the whole new can of worms. Is like, well, do we want a solo queue only league of competitive, and then do we have a 6-stack only league for competitive, and then do we have some kind of weird, again, hellish landscape where it's whatever. If you want to come in with 2, 3, 4, or 5, that's fine. Because again, this is a conversation we had in Heroes of the Storm. We got Hero League. They got rid of the 5-stack, 4-stack, 3-stack possibility. Now you can only go in alone or with 2 people, and now we're all kind of sitting there being like, well, we would still really like the draft when our third buddy is on, because now we just kind of exclude our third buddy because we don't want to do quick match, because we don't want to play without a draft system.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens at the beginning when the game launches. I think it's going to launch with this, everyone together in the same group. We've said this a few times. Overwatch is a lot more directed in the gameplay sense than a game like Heroes. So I think. Right. It's a more, in Heroes, you always have to know what you have to do. And there is some of that in Overwatch as well. But generally, you have to worry about the objective and maybe flank and, take out the snipers. But it's not like you have 15 different things going on at the same time on the map. So I think what you're saying, Chris, is absolutely the case. When we have a larger pool of players in the game, it's going to make all of this a lot easier. It's going to mean that people are matched with other people of similar skill, and there isn't going to be such a huge disparity, because definitely it feels like that now, and it might be an artifact of the beta. Mm-hmm. So my worry isn't when I settle down and my rage subsides of having lost 3 times in a row, and I try to reason about it. I think the losing part is not so much a problem. The real the real issue with the system now is the progression system that is too grindy. So hopefully they will address that before launch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like this got a little overtly negative, mostly my fault.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of work. I mean, we haven't even talked about the backfilling and everything, that's the levers, which you're about to get to.
Yeah. But like overall, it's just, I mean, the game is fantastic. It's just Overwatch overall is a fantastic game.
Yes.
And it's really just like, it's this strange, and that's the strange thing about progression systems overall is in my brain, I know it's all just false. Like really, none of it really matters as long as their MMR and their matchmaking is functioning. In theory, I'm getting what I want, which is a balanced game. But then they add this progression system, and even though I know it's like, oh, this is just placebo to make me feel like a better player, I don't care. You've given me a value to care about, and now I'm going to care about it. So,
yeah, for me, the problem is the win-loss ratio, and I don't think, maybe it's a perception, but I don't think I've had a 50, 0.5 win-loss or 1-to-1 win-loss ratio, and that doesn't feel great. But the other thing, maybe we can address it very quickly. Currently, they're not backfilling people who leave the game. So you end up not very often, but on a regular basis, playing 4v5 or 5v6 matches, which are not fun, especially if it happens in the first game. Then likely you lose the first game, and then you have to play the second one that you're probably going to lose as well. So yeah, and the problem is they don't want to do a backfill at the moment. They're looking how it's going, but they do allow players who have lost a connection or their game has crashed to come back into the game. So they reserve their place, and when you launch the game, it's kind of like Heroes. You can't do anything else. So if you launch the game again, you have to go back into the game you left. People are talking about the potential ban for, some people are calling for a 30 minutes ban if you leave, which I think is overkill because some people might just have their client actually crash. But forcing people to come back into the game is a good thing, and maybe instituting a ban if they leave too much is going to be necessary. But
I think it needs to be strict. I mean, I don't think it should be just like one strike and you get 30 minutes, but I think it does need to go towards a very like a tough penalty whenever it does happen, because you said not often. It's happened to me almost every time I've played. If you lose the first round, almost guaranteed everybody leaves. And that has a little bit to do with the UI not being completely clear. Like I think Garrett mentioned in the very beginning, right? Quick play experience, it feels like, or just one round, right? Like when you're either on attack or defense, and that's a game. So and you don't really necessarily stick around for the next side.
Yeah, I feel like
feel that way.
I feel
right?
like the game start screen or the loading screen, it needs some serious updates to give you a very clear visual indication that this is round 1 of 2 if you are on an attack and defense map, or round X of 5 if you are on a control map.
So they've added a splash screen for the first time you play competitive in the patch late last week. So there's that kind of helping a little bit. I think also people are going to get used to that, to the fact that, competitive is a little bit different. But yeah, if for actual leavers, I would be 100% for a harsh penalty. The problem is you can't really do that and then not also punish people who have their connection drop. And yes, it's going to be rare. I understand. But it absolutely sucks if your game crashes or your connection drops and then you can't play for half an hour the first time it happens. Well, so I understand they have to,
Yeah, I mean, that's what Chris was saying, was, not be maybe that strict. I like the way the Heroes team has designed it. They kind of take into account trends that are happening with your account. If you're leaving a lot, okay, maybe you were disconnecting a lot, but maybe you should get your internet fixed before hero leaguing. And eventually you get put in like a leavers jail where they only match you with other leavers. So
yeah, that's cool.
Like, we've seen this in other Heroes games, and I think, lessons can be learned. So
yeah, definitely. But that, for me right now, that is the biggest issue that they're having right now. We can't even judge the format, I think, completely, even though we all have our own opinions already, just seeing it.
Oh, right.
But right now, it's just like, it's such the data right now, I think, is totally skewed with this useless data, because it's a bunch of 45s and 46s. Josh even posted a 1v1 earlier, which is
we had a 2v2 at some point, which was insane. But it's gotten a lot better over the weekend and in the beginning of the week. It's gotten a lot better. It happens, once every 4 or 5 matches, which is still too much, but it's not all the time.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess moving on. Because I guess a good ending point. I'm ecstatic that they're even testing this stuff because
me too.
Originally, like I said, I was very surprised when they said that this wasn't necessarily something they were aiming for launch. And now I'm seeing it. I'm like, okay, yeah, this has a ways to go. But I'm kind of glad that they're putting it out there because this seems to be a special level of unfinished for something that Blizzard is actually letting people test. So.
What's really interesting though, like I know this last point, but just what's really interesting, at least right now, there's going to be a choice coming very, very soon as to which mode do we put first, in the selection, right? And that's usually, kind of like the default one or the one that people prefer. Like when I play Hearthstone, it's always on ranked, right? That's just where I go. It's going to have to be that kind of thing here too. And right now, I feel like there's, I'd still rather play quick play, and I don't even know if that's because of the competitive aspect of it or it's just the experience I have. But it's gonna be interesting to see what happens when that decision is made, which one they put first. Do you think it'll always be quick play first?
Yeah.
Oh,
so I'm sure it's going to be quick play.
Absolutely.
100%.
They're going to tier it, I think, in the vague, although at the moment it's not. But I would say that they're probably going to tier it in a vague order of what they think a new player should progress through.
Yeah, that's probably smart.
It makes sense. It's the way Heroes does it, and I think that's a very smart decision.
Yeah.
Which means like tutorial, then bots, then versus bots, then quick play, and then it's you need to have level 25 before you can play ranked even. Yeah. So it's absolutely going to be, and I agree the ranked mode. It's actually I think it works really well. It needs tweaking. It feels bad, but it's not far from where it needs to be, and there's some tweaking that needs to happen. So yeah, we'll see.
I would rather see placement matches and just get put where my MMR decides I should be. I would rather have that.
That's too smart. It's too smart.
It's too smart and too incredibly clear about what the game is doing.
Well, it does that in Heroes, and you're still not happy about it.
That's because their system is broke as all get out.
Well, yeah, but it does have placement matches, and then it places you in the rank that you're supposed to be in, and then you can go from there.
Then, Patrick, please inform me why my MMR is 1,100 points higher on my Smurf account than it is on my main account.
Well, that's a different issue. It still places you with a placement match, right? Doesn't it? It does.
In theory, yes.
All right. Well, we'll see the rework. It's coming for you.
Yeah.
Anyways. Symmetra got nerfed. The shields got cut in half on Symmetra. Let's just move straight into that because I know this is what Patrick is just chomping at the bit to talk about. So, Patrick, as the resident, well, actually, I don't know, Chanman, where do you fall on where do you fall on Symmetra?
Symmetra? I think Symmetra's great.
Who's your all-time? Who's like your favorite hero?
My favorite hero to play, or just in theory?
Just to play.
To play right now, I'd say Zenyatta.
Okay.
Probably Zenyatta or Pharah, one or the other, just depending on what mood I'm in.
Okay, cool. So, Patrick, you keep your title. You are still a resident Symmetra fanatic?
Yeah. Well, definitely not. Yeah.
Well, no, so, okay, it's not the hero I play the most, but I think it's a hero that's really underappreciated. And again, the reason she got nerfed was that she has the highest win rate. The games that are won the most are the ones that have a Symmetra in the game. And the way she was nerfed was that her shields went from 50 hit points to 25, which is substantial. But it's not addressing the issue of the teleporter, but we'll see, whether or not that is enough. A lot of people were saying the teleporter might be the biggest problem. Jeff Kaplan has consistently said her shields are really strong and people don't realize it. And this sort of gives me an occasion to talk about something that happened a few weeks ago. I was playing a game and I think I was playing Symmetra, or someone on our team was playing Symmetra, and there was a guy who was berating the Symmetra basically and saying, "Oh, we don't need Symmetra. She sucks. She's not a real support. She, go play someone else. Go play Mercy. Go play Lucio." And I was, defending Symmetra, trying to say, guys, actually Symmetra is really good. Her teleporter is insanely powerful. Blah blah blah. Trying to explain that she's a great support character. And that person was getting super obnoxious, like toxic levels of obnoxious, like telling me, going on the voice chat and going like, dude, I'm educating you. You should be thankful. She's like, she sucks. I'm telling you what's real. And like, I have the data to back it up. You should be thanking me. And, I go to the voice thing. I was chatting until then. I go to the voice thing and try to remain calm. And I'm like, actually, she's really great because her teleporter allows you to get back into the fight super fast. And I had that whole argument prepared. And that person who was yelling interrupts me. And he's like, oh, my God, you are not Patrick. And and he says, oh, you are not Patrick. I'm a big fan. And I'm like, oh, completely taken aback. I was like, oh.
All of a sudden he respects what you say.
Well, okay. Well, thank you then, I guess. Thanks for listening. And that was the end of it. The match was ended. So that was super fun. But I'm so happy that if you're listening, person who was angry, now you have the proof by Nerf that she is actually an awesome support. So there you go. That was
the moral of
my
the story. The moral of the story is if you're the real not Patrick, then anything you say about Symmetra is absolute truth. Is that what we're learning from this?
Remember that, listeners.
I'm also glad that you use your really dumb handle for everything, so that the conversation, if like read literally, just makes no sense. Oh, you are actually not Patrick. Oh, okay. Yes, I'm such a big fan, not Patrick. Like,
yeah, I get a lot of fun banter in the games about that nickname, so that's fun. But yeah, anyway, bottom line, Symmetra is cool. She was nerfed because she was way powerful. So there you go.
I mean, just one quick note: when Jeff was on the show last week, he did. I think the pro scene all believe that the shield is the main reason. The teleport has a lot of value too, but the shield was the main reason, especially when you put it on harassing characters like Genji and Reaper, who are like already hard to kill, but then you give them another 50 hit points. It's near impossible to kill them at a regular rate. So it was funny. What was funny, what Jeff said on the show is that they weren't totally convinced it was the shield that was causing the meta to be a certain way. So they were just going to try this first, just like bringing it down to 25, because there are all kinds of suggestions as to how to do it. Like the shield disappearing if Symmetra dies, and lots of interesting variations, I guess, of lowering the shield. But if you were watching the pro scene this week, not much changed actually with this halving of the Symmetra shield. So it's going to be interesting to see what they conclude from that. If indeed it has nothing to do with that, it is more teleporter, like maybe Patrick, what you're thinking. But there's going to be some more changes, I think, coming for Symmetra. People are still playing her, so she's obviously still very, very good.
Maybe I'm tooting my own horn a little bit, which I love doing, but I can't see it being the teleporter. I always go and find it and blow it up.
I think it's different thing for different levels of play, right? For the lower levels of play, which obviously you've graduated from, Garrett, the teleporter is going to obliterate the other team because they don't know that they need to get it. Maybe at higher levels, it's more the shields.
Yes, and to untoot my horn, yes, Patrick, I've graduated from the lowest levels of play to slightly less low levels of play.
Well, in my teams, we never get it. So, I'm still below you.
Yes, but you guys apparently do have really nice philosophical debates about Symmetra. So
Yeah. Very reasoned, quiet, and very interesting talks.
Anyway, also in the beta patch, we got per character control options, things like toggles for shields, scopes, sprint, auto wall climbs, all kinds of stuff like that. And I like this. You can do this for Mercy's beam, or you can make it a toggle as opposed to having to hold down the button. And I dig it. It makes me feel like Morales in Heroes.
Yeah, and on Mercy, you can also switch from the heal to the damage boost without having to retarget the person you're healing. That is super
you
awesome.
just button dance. I love it. It feels great.
Just lots of quality of life things, which were nice. Reloading when you're switching weapons and things like that. All good changes. The Guardian Angel also changed too, right? The cooldown for it is a little bit less.
Yeah,
it's even nicer for Mercy too.
It's a little bit, and the distance is like 5 meters longer. It's so, I mean, it feels like now, except for a couple of characters that they're still working on, like Symmetra and possibly Zenyatta.
Tracer.
They're and Tracer. Oh my God, Tracer needs to be nerfed. I mean, I don't know what's happening with the meta, but it's funny because you see a lot of poor tracers that try to play her as well as the pros.
Right here.
Well, and all that happens is that, yes, she will never die because it's relatively easy to move around everywhere. She will never die, but she also just does so little damage because she's trying to kill you from so far that it doesn't really work. So you're just ignoring her and pushing whatever you're pushing. But there are a lot of players who are playing Tracer really well. And oh my God, she is the bane of my. I'm getting very emotional for when I.
You are Symmetra.
You're very
Reaper
emotional.
Is made to kill Symmetra.
You were very emotional just on this episode, period, Patrick. And little did you know, you were here. You were on this episode with the 2 lead members of the Average Joe's Tracer Club. So.
Well, yeah. So anyway, Tracer might be nerfed a little bit. She's certainly seeing a lot of play at the moment, but it feels like overall they're really in the polishing final phase of the game, which is great because it's coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Like these tweaks to things like Mercy and whatnot, like they seem like that, right? Small tweaks. We're not seeing massive sweeping changes. Now, I'm not saying we're not going to see that to something like Tracer, but time will tell.
It'll be tiny too. You can't change Tracer much.
No.
And not just totally redesign her.
Yeah, either redesign her or kind of just
little cooldown things, probably.
Yeah, maybe the blink cooldown 1 second longer or something like that. Maybe it would be enough.
Yeah.
Right. And those are the kind of things that I believe are easy to tweak because it's almost like it's a knob, like it's a value that you just change an integer.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right.
As opposed to trying to just redesign. Well, crap. We just have to take an ability away and create a new one. But hopefully they can, mess with the knobs a little bit. So, points have been randomized on control maps. Boy, did this confuse me the first time I got into a control map after the patch. Did you guys do this? I was just like, let's go to that spot that I always go to. Wait, where are we?
Exactly. No, I know. Yeah. First time on, I think it was Lijiang Tower. I was just like, wait, we're doing the third one? What?
Yeah.
What's going on?
And my first one was a competitive game. So I was just like, oh, no.
Nice.
Oh, that guy. I felt like the first time playing Symmetra again, and I placed the teleporter in our spawn. That was the level of dumb I felt. So.
Wow. Yeah. That is.
Yeah, I did that.
That is epicness right there.
First week of beta access, I was like, I got to put the entrance and then the exit, right, guys? Bloop. And then someone's just like, thanks for reading, Symmetra. Thanks for reading.
He's probably thinking that's a Symmetra trying to get the card for a number of teleporters in a game. 0 deaths, but all teleporters.
Yeah. So we've all
I mean, that changed. So in case people don't know, it's to make sure that you see the third point as much as the other two.
Yes.
And it works well. I mean, you just have to know to learn what each point is when you see it on the on the character select screen, and you have the name and everything. So it just takes a little bit of getting used to. But the first time it was surprising for sure.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
I love. Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just saying, it just totally makes sense because even from the competitive scene, like there were people that are just super good at this, 1 and 2, and then never get to the third one. So this at least gives everybody a chance to compete on those two.
Yep. Patrick, are you happy since you finally fell below your wins and losses that the info shown on your career screen has been reworked? It only shows now a number of wins, no more losses?
I was so happy when it happened. Honestly,
you're one of those people. Oh,
I am. I'm sorry. And I understand it's not for everyone, but seeing that win-loss ratio with the games I lost, it was getting unhealthily obsessive for me. I really wanted to have a positive win-loss ratio, and it was kind of difficult because of a whole number of reasons. And I'm not kidding. It was getting unhealthy. I was obsessed by it when I was playing it. It was the only thing I was worrying about instead of enjoying the game. Now, the ranked mode is the thing I'm obsessing about. So maybe there's a problem in my head. Anyway.
That's the thing. No, I'm the same way, Patrick, because I get it. I'm like, I shouldn't care about this. I should just play the game. I should be happy that the matchmaking actually works pretty well and that I'm getting even matches. But they give me values to care about, and I'm going to care about them, and I'm going to want to progress and get better, even though it's just an E-peen as far as I'm concerned.
Isn't that mission accomplished as a game designer, though? I mean, they're supposed to keep you completely obsessed with their game, whatever it is.
In
right?
theory, yes, but I would argue in the case of their progression system for competitive, no, when your system is poorly designed.
Well, yeah, but I was talking more about the win-loss thing.
Yeah. No, as far as win-loss, I mean, I'm of two minds because I've crested, folks. I'm going to be 30 next year. I am not part of the crowd that can be on top of this stuff anymore, that can be the best player. I'm not going to show up to Pokemon Club with my natural 100 team of 6 and kick your ass. That's not going to happen. I can't do that anymore, okay? I don't have the time. So current Garrett, present Garrett is like, yeah, I don't care. Cool. I don't need to worry about that damn number anymore. However, years of being a gamer and always saying I want more information, just show me my MMR, goes against this. So I'm typically in favor of just more information. Show me how the sausage is made. Show me how my game works.
The thing is, for me at least, I understand this is personal, but I also understand there are a lot of people who feel that way. It is more when you have that number, losing feels infinitely worse than winning feels good.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, the reason why they decided to go ahead and remove the number of losses. Same thing with Hearthstone. And for me, at least, it works. I'm happy they did it. But,
well,
Chris,
I mean, if they replace it with some other type of achievement we can get with wins, then that's cool. I totally understand why they took away loss. I was just giving you a hard time.
Jeez, Patrick, you were probably one of those guys in World of Warcraft that was super happy about welfare epics.
No, but if they have like 500 wins or like for characters and stuff like that, that'd be cool. That'd definitely be great.
Patrick's in the back of his room during the Legion announcement going, yeah, everyone gets a legendary, guys. Everybody.
Oh, man.
No, and actually, you bring up a really good point, Chris. I was going to mention that as well. I feel like in Hearthstone, it serves a purpose because you have that golden portrait achievement that you're working towards. So in a way, you could argue, well, you don't need to see your losses because who cares? They're not going to reward you for hitting 1,000 losses.
That's right.
Although that would be kind of funny if they did.
That would be fun.
Oh my gosh.
It would lead to an interesting meta.
You've unlocked the Kodo-Dung card. Enjoy.
Because Lizard, you get a Junkrat skin that makes you look like the biggest a hobo Junkrat.
You're covered in more
like
trash. Yeah,
exactly. Right.
You know what? I'm kind of in for that now, actually.
Yeah, I kind of want it too.
I kind of want that. I'm like, no, I need one more loss. I need my trash rat skin. It's so great. They changed the Tracer pose. So Tracer has her new pose. I'm really happy with it, actually. I like the pose quite a bit.
Talk about it.
Talk about it.
Yeah. What do you like about it? I mean, it's a pinup. That's obviously.
It is like a 1-to-1 reference to a famous pinup painting, and that's cool. I dig it. Still got the butt cleavage in there, guys.
Yeah, right.
Butt cleavage is still in there. It's just not as front row center, and it's a more playful pose. I think it's more on character. I don't want every damn episode of this show to be talking about butts, but I am happy with it.
No, I think, and Jeff addressed this really well in the interview he did on the overview with you, Chris, last week. I think it fits the character. I mean, I think everyone's happy about it. Some people are saying, "Oh, you can still see the butt," and I think other people are responding rightfully. Yeah, but it's not the focus of the pause anymore, right? It's playful. She's looking at you, and it makes more sense. So I think really everyone is happy with this pause, and it makes the whole controversy a little bit seem even more ridiculous than it was. So yeah, good. I think they've achieved the impossible by making everyone happy with that change. That's
I wouldn't say everybody's happy, but the people are going to hate. They're always going to hate. So it's and ignoring those people, I think it is definitely less of a topic, less of an issue in the community after the change.
I would argue that calm, rational, sane people are totally happy with the change.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Send your hate mail. I will not read them. But also, while we're on the subject of shiny new things being added to the game, we got new skins, and some of them are super dope. I need the Scarecrow Junkrat, or Hasty Junkrat, whatever you want to call it. I need it in my life. I need
Yeah,
to
the
know.
it
Junkrat
is
one's
really
pretty
awesome.
sweet.
Yeah, some
Genji
serious.
finally got some, and Genji, it's Genji, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Genji finally
Yeah.
got two of them, and then he got a third one recently with the one this past week.
Yeah, Sparrow Genji, which I dig.
Yeah,
He
Yeah,
looked like he
there's-
walked straight out of G.I.
Balduin or
Joe.
whatever. Balduin.
Bedouin, yeah.
Bedouin,
There's
yeah,
the Sparrow, which is basically a recolor of the young Genji we knew we were going to get because we have a young Hanzo.
Yep.
And there's one where Lucio is a hockey player because he likes hockey. Okay, a Brazilian who plays hockey, I guess.
Who knew?
Who knew? And then there's the Bedouin Genji, which I think is okay, but is very popular. I've seen a lot of people on my Twitter feed saying I want that one. So it's cool that all of them now have a couple of legendary skins.
Oh, and the Huntress Widowmaker. That's right up there with Scavenger Diva for my favorite skins so far.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
The Huntress one, no, she's pretty awesome. The Huntress one, like the default angle of her pose doesn't make her look nearly as good as if you actually pan around her, because she does look really awesome.
Yeah, I'm a dude, and I want to make this cosplay. Like, it's so cool.
Yeah, you should check it out.
Right,
Patrick.
yeah,
It's
I hadn't
actually
seen
really
it.
good.
It is awesome. It
Yeah.
looks really good. It's like this steampunk 19th century
Right.
look. Like
She looks like she's gonna go pop a cap in Dracula. I love it.
That's true. That's true.
So good. So
You know,
freaking good.
I just realized one thing you're missing from these notes here. That one change that you're missing is, did you guys notice the change that when you spawn, you're looking to the right now?
Oh
nowhere?
yeah.
No.
It's so annoing.
That has not-
you have not experienced
that has not occurred to me at all.
Oh my gosh! If you got disoriented with the whole, was it third round thing or whatever? You just the mixing up of it. This was so disorienting for me. I was just like, where am I? There was one round. I think it was in Dorado, where I literally got so disoriented, I got lost for a solid 5 seconds. I was like, what? Where am I? Like, when I was in the building, it was crazy. I was just like, oh my god, this is kind of embarrassing. But it is kind of crazy. Yeah, you start by you're turned 90 degrees. Like, not every time, but a lot of times.
Sometimes, and I think sometimes you even look a different way. You might be walking backwards, and I always, I press forward anytime I die because I want to start walking immediately. And then you're like, oh wait, what? Yeah, but it's a bug. They've said it's on the fix list.
Oh, and I don't know what it is, but I hadn't seen until today a Torbjorn with the pirate skin. Dude, why is his turret still the same? It's not a cannon. Giant missed opportunity. Why is a pirate got a super robot cannon? I don't get it. It should be a cannon or a double-barreled cannon if you want to keep it looking the same.
Yeah, they haven't changed any of the turrets for any of the skins. I mean, it's the only one that arguably would absolutely need it, but yeah.
Yeah, that was the one, because when we saw him,
I don't think it's planned.
I was like, he has to have a cannon, right? It has to be a cannon, not just a turret. Like, and I finally saw one in game today, and alas, boring, normal Torbjorn turret just hanging out.
Nice.
Anyways, before we move on to some of the other stuff, breaking news, guys. We're doing a special recording of Overwatchers next Monday, April 18th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will be interviewing Overwatch's principal designer, Jeff Goodman.
Oh, awesome.
Woohoo!
Almost as cool as Jeff Goldblum, but Jeff Goodman, very excited to have you on the show.
I thought you were going to say it's a different name there, but when you said Goldblum, I was like, wow, okay.
What did you think I was going to go with?
I thought you were going to say Jeff, like Jeff Kaplan.
Oh, Jeff Kaplan. No.
Jeff Goldblum.
I was like, who's another famous guy? Like John Goodman? I could have gone with John Goodman.
That's true.
I did just see 10 Cloverfield Lane. So
how was that, by the way?
Amazing. Everyone should go see it. Read nothing about it. Just go see it as blind as you can. If you've seen a trailer, wipe your brain.
Okay. All right.
Really good.
No, excited. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
interview next week. I hope you'll tune in.
Yes. If we do it live. I think we should be able
and
to.
if you wanna send us questions on Twitter, for example, or by email, please do. Our
I
Twitter,
haven't gotten this
handle.
cleared with Blizzard. I don't know if we can do this.
Well, they
Well-
can give us ideas.
Yes or
right?
no's. Or,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. So again, our Twitter is at OverwatchCast, and you can mail us at mailoverwatchers@gmail.com. Mail is in a parcel, not as in the gender. It's been a joke since day one of this show.
Okay.
It's like we're like, yeah, mail Overwatches is taken, and we said it out loud for the first time. We're like, this kind of sounds like we're saying like it's like a men's club or something.
Right.
Anyway. So there have been some gameplay changes. So apparently Soldier and Zarya are going to see friendly health bars soon.
Yeah.
That is actually really cool. I mean, for Zarya, it's sort of, it's okay. It allows her to put on a shield on someone who's low on health on a clutch. But for Soldier, it actually means that he's going to know when he needs to heal his teammates. That could completely change some of the comps that we see. It could mean that, a couple of soldiers are enough to hold a team together by healing them. You might not rely on support as much if you have soldiers on your team. It's a pretty big change, I think.
I mean, you could play supports like Symmetra a little bit more, if you have a healer in a DPS. Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's definitely going to change, I think, the way you should be training yourself to play Soldier, which is to be aware of your allies' health and to maybe hold on to your heal not just for yourself, but to maybe deploy it to help a friend. So
I mean, maybe the teams that are
well right now
the teams that are already communicating enough would have done that already, but it's going to change in solo queue a little bit. I think people are going to be more aware that their teammates need healing.
I love Cheesy Bob in the chat room who says our email should have been send email to the overwatcherspodcast@gmail.com. But yeah, no, I'm totally with you.
Sensible. That'd be too sensible.
And Chris, I wouldn't feel bad about it going in the solo mode because currently you're only given information to where that is really the only way you can operate. So
okay, yeah, that's true.
Don't feel bad, man. Be selfish for now. Be selfish until this change is made.
Be selfish with it. Go Roadhog mode.
You have
my heal, nobody else.
You have plausible deniability when someone's like, "Why didn't you put down your heal, man?" You're like, "I can't see your health bar." Yeah,
that's right. That's true.
So, Symmetra can now attach turrets to balls.
Oh God,
that is such a small thing, but it was one of the Blizzard employees on
Spheres would have been a better term to use there, but yeah.
To what? Sorry?
Spheres. Attach turrets to spheres.
No, it's actual balls like basketballs, footballs. It's balls. I'm sorry. She can attach turrets to balls.
You know what? When I first saw that headline, I was like, what? She can actually put turrets on the balls she fires? That's freaking amazing, right? Or something like that. But then I'm like, oh, it's these soccer balls on the ground. I'm watching this guy put like 3 of them on the soccer ball and then kicking it around.
It's pretty amazing. I love it. Yeah. It looks like a puzzle at a Portal. It looks like something they would make you do in Portal.
True.
Yeah,
that's a good.
Like example. I'm just waiting for one of these turrets to be like, "Are you still there?" Just waiting for that. Let's play soccer.
So obviously this is not a big thing because it's very difficult to move the balls. But maybe at some point there's going to be a way to move them, or a character that can move the balls, and then you can attach like 6 turrets to a ball and throw it into the opposing team's point. And I don't know, it could make for some fun things. But now it's really
Zenyatta likes balls.
Zenyatta does like balls.
Should be it.
He's a good ball handler.
There you go.
In volleyball, spike it.
Very good ball handler.
Kick it. He can use the feet. Kick the ball.
Patrick, do you have some advice on aiming?
Yeah, so I didn't know where to put this thing, but I like to ask questions about stuff and improve my game, which I don't, but people still give me advice. And I started watching all of these videos and looking at those insane tracers that track their enemy and keep the reticle on the enemy and on the head often, like it's some kind of evil magnet. And I don't understand how they do that. So I went to Reddit and asked for tips on how to better aim. And overwhelmingly, the thing that people said was lower your sensitivity, and they mean the mouse sensitivity, not your, I should be less emotional. Yeah. That's probably too.
That's probably also a good thing.
Yeah. Probably
getting less arguments in your games, but
yeah. But yeah, so what they said was apparently a lot of the pros hover around a sensitivity of 800 DPI on the mouse and 10 in the game, which is super low compared to what I thought. And, all of the pro mouse makers tout their super high sensitivity, like you can go up to 2,400 and even more, like 9,000, 16,000. So I thought the pros would go super high sensitivity and be so precise that they could still, with a flick, a tiny little movement of the hand, go to the target they're aiming for. Apparently, it's not the case. You need to lower the sensitivity and do wide movements with your elbow and your whole arm to go across the screen. So I thought that was an interesting tip to give out to the listeners, because I would never have guessed it, if they hadn't told me.
Likewise, this is not how I naturally play with mice. I like moving my wrist and nothing more.
Me too. Me too. That's how I play.
I can't stand making big sweeping motions. I remember my first time ever going to an MLG and seeing the table-sized mouse mats and just being like, why? Why do you need these?
Why are you putting your keyboard on your mouse pad?
Exactly.
What is going on?
Exactly.
Yeah. But it does help. I've tried it. I don't generally do it just because I don't have like a ton of space like on where my mouse is. But the times I have tried it, I definitely can see just why they're just much better at aiming, and because like any little jerk, right, totally screws up your aim when it's super sensitive. Where with something like this, it's not, right. There's a larger margin, more granular movement is there's more margin error for it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's good advice.
I would like to point our listeners to the recent developer update where they talked about netcode, if you have not already watched it, because, oh my God, I felt like I was in, like, middle school science class with them, like, busting out physical examples of how it worked. And I found it incredibly fascinating because this is not something I have an understanding of. It's, I believe, a 17-minute video. Not really going to go into it here because I'm definitely not the person that should be explaining this thing to you, but go check out this video if you have not seen it. It is in the show notes, amove.tv/Overwatchers. Look for the post for episode 16.
Yeah, it's an excellent video, actually. It's a great one for folks that don't have any idea how netcode works. As silly as the models were, they're Farrah cups. I mean, they're cups.
That was the best part.
I loved them.
It was pretty funny.
And now I want a poster with Chibi Farrah. Like, I need that.
You can have a Chibi Farah spray in the game, so that's something. I think very quickly there are a couple of things to remember from it. They have a super interesting tenet for the way the netcode works, which is favor the shooter, which is if you line up your shot and you see on your screen that you shot someone, then you shot them. And no matter what the reality is on the server or on the other player's client, that is a way of making you feel good about the game. Because if you shoot them, but then actually it rolls back and you haven't shot them, it feels weird. So I think that was a super good element. And then just for people who are technical, the server tick rate is always 60. The client tick rate is 20. But a lot of people are saying, oh, why is it so low? 20 is not enough for competitive stuff. The server tick rate is always 60. So, it's not the most you can see in FPS games, but it's still pretty good. And that's usually what you go for if you want a decent, reliable game. So,
right. And again, they're very technical things, and we could go into it for a good 10, 15 minutes, but it's probably easier if you just watch that video.
Absolutely. I came out of it with such a new respect for game infrastructure. Because I never think about that. I went to school for art. I think of everything like, you want to make a video game, you just make some 3D assets and you design and you get a level designer and then you balance it. I don't really think of just the infrastructure. Like, well, no, you need a server farm and you need to make sure information is going to and from the servers and it makes sense and it's happening quickly. And,
otherwise, you have Diablo 2, which is a bunch of. You've got many copies of
or me playing the original Counter-Strike on a 56K modem, crossing my fingers, praying to God no one tries to call the house.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember that.
Okay.
I remember that on my POS
modem
computer, man.
Yeah.
Oof. I had a blast though. Best gaming days of my life. except for now, because things are so much better.
Yes.
Things are so much damn better. There was also just a dev interview bonanza. Chris, over on your show, the overview, you had Jeff Kaplan.
Yes.
The instance
that was awesome.
Yeah, the instance. Did the instance also interview Jeff Kaplan? I haven't had a chance to download it yet.
No, it was just released today. It wasn't Jeff. I'm sorry, I don't have the. I'll look it up. But it is. It was a different.
Yeah, it was a. Who was it?
I'll look it up.
Pulling up the instance now.
No, it was
Michael Chu.
Yeah, Michael Chu. That's who it was.
There you go.
Game design, senior game designer.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. The one thing that I really enjoyed in that one was something he said about when they think about the characters, they think of them as each one sort of being the hero of their own game. And I think it's a very useful way of thinking of it and understanding why all of them feel epic. I think that they don't think of them as this additional character in the roster. They think, this is their own thing, and it works really well. All of them feel very epic.
Yeah, it kind of goes along the lines of that Avenger thing that you were saying, Garrett. I mean, they all have their own stories where they are the main characters and heroes, and that's what makes it fascinating, right? And that's what makes us want to learn more about it. And they have a lot of runway to play with, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's why I love listening to Blizzard interviews with Scott, because Scott is very much of the creative mind like I am, and I love hearing about that kind of stuff, that type of consideration that goes into game making. So.
Yeah, but the interview with Jeff was fabulous. So I don't think we mentioned it on the show, but Jeff actually came early to set up. We were expecting him literally to sit down and we start, like 3 minutes type of thing. That's kind of what happens normally, just with some of the devs. But Jeff actually came early, and in fact, when we were setting up, couldn't see video, and he was just like, "Hey, we're here," and so I'm expecting one of the Blizzard community folks, right, setting up, not Kiki, but somebody else setting it up, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, who is this? Oh, this is Jeff." I'm like, "Oh, okay, great," right? So it's like 30 minutes before the thing, and we're just all just chilling out, and we're talking, and Jeff was just really telling us how much he watches the show and just follows everything in the community, and I mean that's definitely one big thing I pulled from it, is that Jeff watches literally everything, all the events, all the community content and everything. So that's fabulous, right? From the standpoint of
they seem incredibly tapped in, even into the podcast side of things, because I mean you have a pretty big following on Twitch and with live streaming in general, whereas we're more into the on-demand podcast side of things, and this is the first time I've had Blizzard kind of approach us and be like, "Hey, want to have an interview?" I'm like, yes, of course,
right,
because
exactly.
Usually, as a podcaster, you kind of need to. I feel like you need to explain what it is you're doing, right. Because it's not on Twitch.
Some cred, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and you need to like request an interview and hope to God that it's in some weird window where they're actually scheduling interviews. But this is the time they're like, "Hey, we've heard of Overwatchers," and so they seem really tapped in, and I'm surprised. That they even know about like the Overwatch podcast circle. So
yeah, no, absolutely. There were so many like lore questions and everything. There were a lot of questions we had, but of course the overview is more competitive centric. So we ended up asking a lot there. But one thing that he did mention that I don't think he mentioned anywhere else, that was just kind of a little bit more exclusive to the interview, was retiring maps. Right, like I didn't quite get the follow-up question, which I was wondering if they would keep all the maps in custom, but just retire them on the ladder, and that sort of thing. But that's something that we can at least look forward to, or we can expect in the future. Just having new maps come in and some maps be replaced. And that sort of thing. I hope they don't get rid of maps. I mean, they should just keep them around. Like StarCraft
I can't imagine that they would. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're gonna have a custom game feature, we can do the same. If you really want to go play Steps of War in StarCraft, and I don't know why you would want to do that unless you're Terran, you can go do that.
That's right. That's right.
But and same thing with Heroes. I mean, heck, we just got a map in Heroes that is only a custom map. It's never been competitive. It never will be because it's just one lane. But. Yeah, I don't see any reason why you would ever get rid of that type of stuff. If for no other reason, just the digital archivist in me wants these things to always be available. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I dig it. There were also quite a few panels at GDC on the subject of Overwatch, and
yeah, there were. Sorry, do you want me to take it?
No, go right ahead.
So GDC was a month ago, I think, and there were a couple of panels specifically about Overwatch. And I'm not going to go over everything, obviously, because they're each an hour long. But one of them was about animation in the game by David Gibson, who's one of the main animators on the team, and the other one is about sound by Scott Lolor and Thomas Newman. And those things are fascinating. If you're into the panels at BlizzCons and stuff like that, or if you're into animation or sound, or more generally in game design, go watch those. They're awesome. A couple of things that I took away from them. On the animation one, they actually have some really weird animation that you don't see when they run full speed. But when he was detailing them, it's super strange. They have what they call noodle bones in the rigs, in the 3D models, that stretch the models. Like when McCree turns around and points his 6-shooter at you. I don't know if you remember that pause. I think it's one of the highlights.
I'm just going to clarify. Do you mean pose when you say pause? I don't mean to
pose,
do this because
you're
don't mean to be that guy.
No, you're right.
I followed it before when we were talking about poses because it's been previously said, but now I'm like pause. Yes,
pose.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. So basically, one of the highlight animations, he's his back to you, and he turns around with his gun, and in the animation, his arm actually gets like completely stretched. It's super weird when you look at it frame by frame, but it's actually one of the things that makes the game so dynamic. Same thing with Farah. When she lands, her head is actually separated from her body, and for a couple of frames, but it makes the thing so much more dynamic, and it's part of all of the small things that you don't realize. But we often talk on the show about how everything seems polished and fun and cool and well made. And a lot of those small things that are attention to detail create this cohesive whole that make it so well crafted, even though you think, it's just an FPS. What's so different about this one from all of the other ones? Another element in the sound department is they came up with a completely, an incredible importance system to decide what sound was going to be, enhanced and volume-wise heightened for you to hear when they're in the game. And that has to do with which character is the most of a threat to you, the closest to you, aiming at you, doing damage to you, if they have a wall between you and them, or... And they basically have an entire 3D sound model designed just to decide what sound they're going to dim and what sound they're going to present to you even more. It's honestly, go watch it. It's an incredible, incredible talk. And you would never guess when you're playing the game that they go through such lengths to make it that impactful and powerful for you to play. So we were talking earlier about how much you don't see and how much work goes into the game. Those talks will show you how much of that is, and it gives you a whole new level of respect for game developers in general and Blizzard in particular.
The noodle bones makes a lot of sense, though, right? When you think about the style of this game, how cartoony it is, and you think of just the way cartoons generally behave. If you were working with a rigid bone structure, it would look funky. You would be watching realistic motions on an animated looking character. And I love that type of stuff is taken into account. You get the squash and stretch. I used to refer to it as the water balloon effect.
Every time I hear noodle bones, I keep thinking of Reaper in that Winston body licking thing. Remember in the victory poses, you know what I'm talking about?
No, I do not.
Yeah, he looks so...
One of the brawls had a bug that you would get one of the 3D models matched with a different character's skeletal structure when you at the end.
I did see this.
Pose the end poses, and so you would have Reaper completely stretched into a Winston position.
Yeah,
that was fun.
I'm thinking of Harry Potter's arm from the second book.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
No, I watched a little bit of the animation one. It was really cool. The diva part too, even just going really into the specifics of how they made the just the highlight intro or whatever for it, and how she just ejects out of the mech suit. And that was one of my favorite ones too. But I didn't get a chance to catch the sound one. The sound one sounds really cool.
Gotcha.
Oh, dude. I mean, anyone listening to this, you think that sound is boring, just go watch that thing. It's awesome. And it is not at all, just, so we have sounds and they play. It's fascinating.
One of my favorite things from Blizzard ever was watching the StarCraft 2 DVD that came with the collector's edition.
Oh, yeah.
Just about the sound, and there was a guy with a bucket of chicken and a bucket full of mayonnaise, just sticking the chicken bones into the mayonnaise and popping it and making all these gurgling and cracking noises, and that's how we got the sound of Creep, ladies and gentlemen.
I didn't even realize that.
I love that is a thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so, man, I love the massive creative process that goes into video games, and I think it's one of the reasons I'm so damn passionate about them. So, and no one does it like Blizzard, man. These are creative giants.
No doubt. I mean, their attention to detail is just amazing. That's why it's just all these other types of media, whether it's the shorts or the cut screens or any of that, are best. I think the best in the industry.
There's so much character to a 3-second victory animation in this game. It is just silly. And
there's been a lot of talk about those highlight victory animations, and we sort of were surprised at how good they were when they were introduced in the beta when it came back. And it's no surprise. They have people who are CG movies pros that have spent their time animating 3D characters in like feature films and stuff like that, and games, of course. And it's not even on the movie team, right? It's on the Overwatch team.
Yeah.
Those guys are super pros in that department specifically. So obviously they're going to be coming up with awesome things. But that's why. And now it makes sense, right? They have some of the devs in the team are decidedly pro of that thing. So,
yeah.
Well, I think, Garrett, both of you guys, have you guys had the tour? You've had the tour at Blizzard, right?
Oh, yeah.
And okay, Patrick, have you had the tour at Blizzard? Okay.
Well, I used to
Blizzard.
work.
You
used to work
for
for
Blizzard.
Yeah, what am I talking about?
So
when you go through the StarCraft area, right? And they talk about just all the cut screens they make and how it's like all modeling, right? It's actually all from the game itself. They make these cut screens from. You kind of quickly realize that, or at least for me, I was just like, I kind of wish they would just make a movie with the models from the actual games, not going like start from scratch and make these digital, characters from just starting all over, but just like use the engine and just make that. It would be like a phenomenal movie. The quality would be amazing.
To a certain point, I mean, the actual cinematics, that's something different. Those are not game assets, and they're so phenomenal. That when I first heard about the Warcraft movie and it was going to be live action, that was my reaction. I'm like, can we just like quadruple the size of the Blizzard cinematic department and just make it 100% in house?
Right.
That's what I want to see. Mm-hmm. I'm still really excited for the Warcraft movie, guys. I'm not crapping on it, but.
I'll go see it. I'm not sure I'm excited about it.
I'm pretty excited about it actually, because it looks like they're not taking a giant dump on the lore, which was my biggest concern. So,
okay.
So that again,
I don't think so.
Just from trailers.
Chris Metzen was very involved in all of this. If you don't remember, the reason why the movie was delayed so much was that ultimately they were going with Sam Raimi initially, and there was a piece of miscommunication, and they realized that Blizzard had full overview of everything, of the script in the movie. And the production company apparently didn't realize that it was that ironclad. And so they were like, oh, so you mean we can't do the thing we wrote and spent 3 years developing? And Blizzard were like, well, sorry, we kind of want the thing to be true to the game. So yeah, I think it's going to be true to the game.
Well, I hope at the very least we still get to see Bruce Campbell somewhere in the Warcraft movie, because that would really disappoint me. Anyway, while we're on the subject of super awesome creative things, let's talk about the second short, Alive, focusing on Widowmaker. And hey, Tracer's back, and her
Tracer's gonna make an appearance on all of the shorts.
we just heard her voice in the Winston one. Just heard her voice. And guys, oh my God, I really dug this one. I didn't think they were gonna go this dark, and they totally went that dark.
It was awesome.
Yeah, the complexity it adds, just even for Tracer, who's this kind of fun, jolly character, and now you're seeing, like potential guilt or anything like that, for just the last sequence there, for those of you that haven't seen it. It's awesome. It's just, this is definitely my favorite one so far.
Yeah.
Even though the first one was pretty epic too, but this one has, it leads down more of a storyline that I think is, going to be more complex than what we were expecting.
Yeah, it says more about the state of the world that Overwatch exists in. So I think it's stronger narratively, and it's definitely stronger on the action front. The fight scene in this thing is just killer. I loved it.
Yeah, it's surprising because it is basically all action. There is very little no action moment, right? It's like 8 minutes long, and it's a 8-minute action scene, and yet it manages to tell you a lot about the world, a lot about the characters, a lot about the relationships, and it's a complete success, I think. And you're right, Garrett. It goes dark. It's like it's not the good guys that win. It's like a tragedy when that thing happens. So and even the way it happens, right? She's like, she blinks out, and then you're like, oh my God, what happened? Oh, it's perfect, and it basically forms a the first one with Winston happened a few hours before. So I think we might have a series once the pre-release 4 shorts are released. It might be basically a sequence of 4 small scenes.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing plays out like a really great cold open from a good action thriller. Like it feels like the beginning of a really good Mission Impossible movie or something to me.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, it's all the little details too, like her wrapping the cord around her leg, and she kind of goes down upside down, and I mean, there was
the point.
Just those little things, I think, just really make it just an extraordinary quality.
Listen, I haven't, we've only had the beta for a few months now. I haven't, I'm not as attached to this property as I am to something like Warcraft or StarCraft. But the point where Tracer uses rewind, I actually fist pumped. Alone in my office. I was like, oh, I forgot she had that. Yes. Like, it was this little bit of fan service, but at the same time as being faithful to the game. And I had enough knowledge from playing the beta and just, experiencing the game. Like, it was great. It was wonderful. It's everything I love about Blizzard in 8 minutes.
So. In 8 minutes. And
I want to go watch it again now.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have you guys watched it?
3 times?
Yeah, 3-4 times. Not enough. I'm going to go. But, Overwatch, I keep watching the intro CG and the gameplay trailers, both of them, I think at least a couple of times a month, and I never get tired of them. So I suspect I'm going to be watching those two quite a few times.
I just made this damn video intro, and here they are putting out more cinematic stuff that I want to cut into it now. Thanks, Blizzard.
Right, exactly. Now, I think I've seen it live probably like 15 times because
really?
my kids watch it a ton.
Oh, you have kids.
My kids watch it, and my nephew watch it. I literally have seen it a ton of times, and I still love it every time I watch it.
Yeah,
so
my correct answer is not as many times as I watched the Wrath of the Lich King intro cinematic when that was debuted, but I will never watch anything as many times as I watch that damn video.
So the next one, when's the next one come out? It's May. Wait, when's
we don't know.
Or
do we have a date? I don't think we do.
I wasn't aware we had one.
I thought my son was saying it was like May 3rd or something like that.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, that seems too far away. But we know that we're going to get 4 total before launch. So it could make sense. May 3rd, the 3rd one, and then right before launch, the 4th one. Where possibly it's going to be like the entire Overwatch roster called back, like recalled from the first one, where Winston actually recalls everyone, and we might have an ensemble short there possibly to launch the game with it. But
bring it on.
That's right. We've yet seen a new character in depth, right? So, we've seen Winston, we've seen Reaper, we've seen Widowmaker, we've seen Tracer, of course,
Tracer,
right?
yeah.
Just the very first
all
one.
of the we've seen all the characters that were represented in the cinematic.
Yeah, exactly. The original cinematic one.
Yeah, I want to see. I really want to see McCree, man. I want to see what McCree is all about. I want to see
Yeah.
him walking around doing his Good Ben the Ugly jam.
I want to
Yeah,
see. I want to see McCree. I want to see Roadhog and Junkrat. That
Oh,
little
you're
story
right. You know
too.
what? I take that back. I want to see
That
them
would
more
be
than
awesome.
McCree. Chris wins. He's correct. He's actually objectively right.
Yeah, I don't know. I really want to see McCree too. Actually, he's got such a. They managed to make him into such a perfect fantasy of what he is. He's such the badass, like sort of gruff. Yeah, mother effer. Yeah, I want to see that.
Well, he's a Banff, sir. It's on his belt buckle.
That's
Exactly.
what I mean. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So bring it on, man. Speaking of bring it on, everyone, you can bring it on this weekend because it's the final Overwatch stress test weekend. Everyone can get in the beta this weekend.
Wait. Everyone?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's open.
Yeah.
It's open.
No. I don't think so. It's still closed. You get the invites just like you did for the previous stress test weekend. I'm pretty sure it's still closed, guys. You need the invite. They're going to invite a lot more people, like they did in the previous stress test, which was can't remember months ago.
I thought that was everybody. No.
I thought it was
No, the
open.
open
see
one
this.
is in May.
No. The open beta is in May. Yes, but
Yeah.
I thought the stress test was.
I'm pretty sure the stress
Okay.
test is still closed. Much wider, but still closed.
Oh, it is invitation only. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, crap. Never mind. Sorry, guys.
Well, it's still probably a lot of the people who have registered for the beta are going to be invited. So the emails actually take a while to get to you. So at the time of the start of the beta of the closed beta, which I can't remember when it is, I'm going to check out on Twitter, but check the game, and if you have an install button, then you can probably play the game.
You want to check
so
your-
don't
your
wait for the email.
You want to check your client because you can't check the game because you won't have the game.
Right. Sorry.
Check your client
I
for
mean
an
the
Overwatch logo.
the Battle.net client.
Right.
Yeah.
Check your yeah. So it starts Friday, April 15th at 9 a.m. Pacific, and it goes through Saturday evening at 9 p.m. Pacific.
There
So,
we go.
Yeah.
I feel really bad about getting everyone excited for about 5 seconds. I'm sorry,
Well,
guys.
it might be almost. I mean, it might be almost everybody watching or listening here. So
I certainly hope so. That's my. I want
Let's
more
cross your
people to play
fingers.
with.
Let's cross your fingers.
All the tweets that we get is like, "You lucky jerks! Brr, I wish I was in." I'm like, I wish you were in too. Do you know how many badasses
Don't
I
have
get
to
stuck
wait.
with putting bullets in my brain? I want regular Joes too. So
Well,
regular
we're
just
really
beat
close
up
to
on.
the open.
Yeah.
We're really close to the open beta now. I think it's
yeah, no,
almost done.
I agree.
It's like 3 weeks or something
Yep.
like that. So
BlizzCon was confirmed for November 4th and 5th.
Yes.
Hotels are pretty much already taken. Even
I
though
know,
tickets
it's
aren't on
like-
sale yet. So if you're thinking about going, get your hotel like now.
Or you wait till people cancel. That's what I did last year. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you cancel from the Hilton? Oh, okay, I'll stay at the Hilton.
You don't want to do that because the Hilton actually doesn't have they have plenty of rooms available, but they don't have a BlizzCon block, and they're charging $650 a night.
Are they serious? Are they really?
They were the first hotel I called.
Why did they?
They don't.
What? They don't have a block?
They're
What do
not
you mean
doing
they
a
don't have a
BlizzCon.
block.
I called them to ask because I didn't see them listed, and I checked the hotel listing as soon as BlizzCon was announced, and I didn't see them there. So I called them. They're like, "Oh, I don't see that we have a block, but we have plenty of rooms. Would you like to book one for $650?"
Do they not want people to stay there then?
I guess not.
Because I know last year, you know the story about last year, why all the
Ooh,
players.
no, tell the story.
You know why all the players in town they weren't staying at the Hilton last year?
Why?
It's because they didn't allow them to. Because apparently they messed up the rooms or the previous year. So yeah, if you notice, all the players stayed at all like Hyatt, and Sheraton, all around.
Okay,
and
I
nobody stayed at the
didn't
Hilton.
know that. I didn't know that.
So I'm wondering if it extended beyond that this year. That
To-
was terrible. 'cause-
just to BlizzCon. Oh, does that mean we're not going to be able to go there for like the party afterwards, where you just
No way.
it's just a
That's
sea
like
of
that.
people? Where I
that's
just
like where everybody is.
where I bring in my own beer because it's so expensive there. I go into the bathroom and open it and walk out with it.
God, Garrett.
They charge $8 a Heineken. I'm sorry. You can go straight to hell if you're charging $8 a Heineken.
That is a lot for a beer.
that is
That's
ridiculous.
So you have your hotels booked.
I don't
Yes.
have mine yet, but where are you staying?
The Hyatt.
Okay,
which
yeah, Hyatt's
is-
close.
Yeah, it's behind the Clarion. I usually stay at the Clarion, which is right on the corner on that main drag. It's the cheapest hotel that is on
the
Convention.
street, basically.
Yeah, it's the cheapest hotel that is on Convention Way. And every year I book the Clarion after I get my ticket. I called them, completely booked up, 100% sold out before tickets even go on sale.
Wow. So I guess that's the lesson. Book your hotels right now if you want to go to BlizzCon. And I think the problem for a lot of people is they're not sure they're going to have tickets. But you know what? Come hang out at the Guildhall that I'm sure the
Also,
Frog Pants
most
people
of the
are gonna
hotels
do.
have pretty sane cancellation policies. So
Yeah,
That's
they
true.
do.
book
You
now,
can-
don't get a ticket, cancel your reservation.
That's right. Yeah, you can cancel 24 hours in advance and you'll be fine.
Yeah, but we do have some really fun open parties there as well. So I have plenty of friends who are local that always just come in just to hang out afterwards. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
always a good time.
it's
Yeah,
always a good time at BlizzCon. Honestly, I probably have more fun like after we leave the con. It's like, yeah, let's just drink and play Hearthstone. Woo!
So okay, I know it's early, but what do you think we're going to see at BlizzCon Overwatch
geez.
wise?
Oh, you mean because the
Take
show
advantage.
isn't already 1 hour and 35 minutes long, Patrick? You're
All
going to
right,
ask us to
never
make
mind. We
predictions?
don't know. It's just speculation.
I know it's
anyway.
early in the
Let's
morning
move
for
on.
you there in Japan, Mr. Patrick, but us here in the in America, it's pushing the wee out. No.
America.
Yeah, I don't.
Let's move on. We don't know. It's just speculation.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a couple of new
I'm
characters.
sure we'll get some new
and-
characters. I'm sure we'll get some new maps.
Well, there'll be a big event there. There's got to be a competitive.
Yeah,
event
there's
there.
gonna be
There's no
something.
way there won't be. Yeah, so
At
there'll
least
be
an invitational.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it'll have to
yeah.
be an invitational. I mean, we're moving too late into the year, I think, to have a proper structured esports event.
Yeah, it would actually be a very bad thing if they tried to set up something like that
Yeah.
this year.
I mean, it would be kind of cool if they kind of went like a old school MLG and just like, well, we have a 128 player open bracket, top 16 go to BlizzCon. Like, let's just do it and go.
Sure,
I'd be
but-
kind of well. I guess you'd have to be more than that because it's 6-player teams. But you know what I'm getting at. Do
Yeah.
just one big open event and take your top 16, top 8, whatever you want. That would be cool. Although they've never done that before, so I'm assuming they'll just do an invitational.
Yeah, I
it
think
makes
so.
more sense.
Then maybe they'll do something between like launch and then, but I'm guessing they'll just do one big. I don't know how many $1,000 event it's gonna be, but something like that. I can see that. But in terms of the game, probably yeah. I don't see anything like what else can they add to it that's just like huge outside of just characters and maps and skins and stuff like that.
I don't know. Maybe we'll be surprised.
Yeah, maybe a bunch of new game formats. I feel like this whole brawl thing is just testing some of them, even though it is more geared towards casual players. But at the same time, they're testing certain principles or certain elements to see if there's potential for it, right? And hopefully we'll have more than just payload or control point at this point. That's kind of like all we have right now. So it'd be great to see some more.
Yeah, I'd be happy to say that as well. I don't know. I'm excited for BlizzCon. I always have a good time, even when they're believe it or not, there used to be like years where BlizzCon didn't have too much to announce. But with as many games as Blizzard has now, I don't think there'll ever be a year where there's not some new stuff to talk about.
Everybody thought last year was supposed to be quiet. Like there's a lot of people I know that didn't go because they thought it was going to be a quiet year, and then bam, they announced a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think we're going to see something on Diablo, but
oh yeah,
I would really like to see something for Diablo as well. I had my fingers crossed last year they were going to surprise us and be like, and second expansion for Diablo 3, and instead it was like, hey, we've kind of got like half of the Slaughtered Calf Inn tucked in the corner behind the Dark Moon Fair, guys. That's cool, right?
Okay, Diablo had nothing to announce.
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, it was, whatever. That game is in good place right now, actually. So, anyway, I think that's a good place to end this episode. It was nice. It was meaty. We added a new host, and we didn't trip over ourselves. It's always a good feeling.
I can't talk about the last thing.
Oh, I missed the last thing. Go ahead and talk about it, Patrick.
Very quickly, there's a person on a YouTuber that does quick character guides that are absolutely awesome. It's a person called Totally Futile, and his YouTube channel is Cynical Nerds, and he's doing all 21 of them. He doesn't have all of them up yet, but there are the best character overviews I've seen I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube about Overwatch. Those are awesome. They are comprehensive, and I've learned a new thing about almost every character I've watched in this. So if you're looking to get a start, maybe for the stress test or the open beta, go check out the Cynical Nerds channel on YouTube. It is really good.
Sweet. All right. Follow us on Twitter at OverwatchCast. You can email the show at mailoverwatchers@gmail.com. Make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, over at youtube.com/amovetv if you prefer a video feed, if you like seeing our gorgeous faces. Patrick, where can folks find you?
Not Patrick on Twitter and Facebook, and FrenchSpin.com for the podcasts that I do.
Nice. And Mr. Chris Chanman, where can folks find you and your work, including yet another Overwatch podcast?
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at ChanmanV, YouTube, it's youtube.com/ChanmanV, and Twitch, you find some of my shows on twitch.tv/ChanmanV. It's all ChanmanV, so you can't go wrong if you just try ChanmanV.
Nice. Awesome. Folks, you can find me on Twitter at Garrett Art, and you can find every single podcast I do, for the most part, over at amove.tv, including this one. And really, that is going to do it. Don't forget about CreateCon, folks. If you enjoy the podcast here on amove.tv, if you enjoy shows like this, purchase your ticket to CreateCon. It's happening in Orlando this July. We're having a live Angry Chicken, live Into the Nexus, live Let's Talk About Star Wars, live Night Attack, and many, many other panels and shows. So come on down. We have sold completely out of the VIP tickets. There are still plenty of regular tickets to go. So go snatch us up. It's createconvention.net for more information. Hope to see many of you in Orlando in July. Gonna have a good time. Also, if you're listening to the show on iTunes, drop us a 5-star review. They help the show out a lot. This episode, let's thank Sparwa, Kicked Tripod. We're on to Kicked Tripod, but anyway, he left us a 5-star review. And Squinty Eyes. Thank you guys so much for your 5-star reviews. We really appreciate it. That's going to do it for this show. Until next time, good luck and have fun.
Bye.
Bye.